Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? It's 7 a.m. right now, and I was unexpectedly woken up by my angels, and I was prompted to make this video because this is something I wanted to share with my audience, with all you lovely soul family for some time now. Um, Things are changing so fast right now in our life and in the collective of humanity that I just wanted to take this opportunity to check in with you guys and just bring everyone up to speed on my journey uh, in particular, and my Eldora, my journey so far. Our audience is changing, our lives are changing, our situations are changing, and things are moving so fast that I just wanted to really share my story with you. There's so many new people who are joining this channel and may not know who we are, where we come from, and I just want to, even for our diehard audience who've been following us for some time now, I just wanted to recap. Many of you have heard bits and pieces of our story, but I really wanted to share with you authentically today who what my journey has been so far on planet Earth, and how I got to this point, and where I see where what I see coming in the near future. And this has truly been one of the most exciting journey I can ever imagine. If you if you show a clip of my life to a past version of me, the 3D version of me, who was a computer programmer like 20 years ago, um, if I were to watch a movie of my life right now, my 20-year-old version, I would be like, that's science fiction. That's not even possible. So let me start from the beginning. Um, I was born into an average middle class family in Pakistan, and I was born and raised there for the first 17 years of my life. My parents decided to migrate to Canada when I was 17, and when we moved there, I went to high school. I completed university. Got my degree in computer science, and when I was still going through university, I had an awakening. I suddenly got enamored by Sufism, and one mystic in particular by the name of Osho. You may know of this Indian mystic by the name of Osho. When I started reading his books, especially his views on the ego, it really triggered an awakening within me at a very deep core level. And I realized that many of his teachings were already something I embodied. I found that although I had no knowledge of spirituality before that, but I felt like I had harmonized my ego to a very large extent, and I was baffled. But there were a lot of things that I still needed to learn, and I started to practice them in my 20s. So I became like a mystic in my 20s, all through my 20s. And then in my mid 20s, I met my ex wife, which started off as a college sweetheart kind of relationship, and we went to the same university together, and we got married. But as soon as we got married, our soul contract engaged, and we had two daughters. But my relationship with my ex became very toxic and abusive, and I was in that relationship for almost 12 years, and I thought that I have to be the sacrificial lamb. I felt like I have to take this abuse because now I have two girls to support, and there's no way out. And I felt like this is the way it is. I didn't even realize how abusive the situation was becoming. And by the end of the 12 years, there was a point where it was it was our fights were getting so intense that I literally heard my guides in my ear for the first time, and it was very loud and clear. And they said, my dear child, you are in a very toxic, abusive relationship and you have to get out. And at that time, I had a realization that since my 20s that I had started my spiritual journey, and my guides told me that your my spiritual journey had my spiritual studies had paused during my 12 years of marriage, but that 12 years of marriage, uh, that 12 years of toxic abuse was actually a very fast forwarded mystery school where had to learn how to be a master of my ego and learn how not to react negatively even in the most daunting of circumstances. So literally, I'm thankful to my ex-wife because she made me bulletproof. She made me the true ego master that I feel that I am today. Because if I can withhold myself, if I can contain myself and not react in those extreme situations, I feel I can handle anything at this point. So around the same time when I was feeling like my marriage was degrading, this was around 2012, and many people, many major life changes were occurring in 2012. And around the same time, I met Eldora. We were both still married at that time. She was with her husband. I was with my ex. But when we met each other, it was like something, the most attractive energy I've ever felt. Like I've never felt a pull towards another individual how I felt towards Eldora. And we just knew that we had a soul contract to be with each other. And very soon after us meeting each other, we wrapped up our marriages and just moved in together. And we realized we were meant to be with each other. And that's when my spiritual journey really started accelerating. Like meeting Eldora activated another soul contract, which helped me remember who I am. And I used to, in the first few years of meeting her, of us being together, I used to started getting premonitions. I started getting voices from my guides very visibly. And trust me, at that time, I didn't know anything about spirituality other than reading some Osho books in the decade earlier. So, my meeting with Eldora, I started getting voices from my guides saying, "You guys are going to be pillars of a community, and you guys are going to do great things, and you're going to have a huge influence, and you're going to help many people." And at that, I told her verbatim, word for word, what all these things, all these voices are telling me, and I have no idea what to make of it. And it was so funny that Eldora would take everything I said literally because we both didn't know what it means to be pillars of a community. So, no, or actually, I told her that we're going to be healers, although I didn't even know what a spiritual healer meant. So, Eldora, out of her love, she started calling hospitals because she thought I'm supposed to be a healer and that she's supposed to make my dream come true, which is one of the, these are the kind of things I find extremely sweet about her, that she takes everything and if I have a dream, she makes it her own dream and she does everything in her power to make it happen. And that was such a huge contrast for me from my previous relationship where there was literally no connection, no caring for the other person. And I was just getting healed by Eldora's love at a very deep cellular level. And we both had a soul contract to heal each other. So Eldora and I, we started this company called Soul Movement in Toronto, where we started throwing sober dance parties, and it became very popular. And we were doing very well for some time. And in 2016, I got a very strong urge from my guides to go to Mount Shasta. And I got connected to a spiritual teacher who was the head of a mystery school in Mount Shasta. And I initiated into the Order of Melchizedek in 2016. And I started learning a lot in that mystery school. I went very fast. And in 2017, shortly after joining the mystery school, I had a life-changing experience. I had a walk-in. So if you have not heard the term walk-in before, a walk-in is where a higher aspect of your soul literally merges with you, and your the 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 human soul that has been in the body until that point leaves the body. So it's literally like a soul swap, like a higher soul self merger, but the old soul that was your human soul literally departs. And it's all according to a pre-planned contract. So that's how I knew that there's something very big in store for me in this lifetime, and I feel that I had all these soul contracts to accelerate very quickly. And when I had my walk in experience in April of 2017, Eldora was there with me. I was in a mushroom ceremony by myself. I was just doing a medicine ceremony for myself. And I felt like this immense like presence around me of this being that's coming in, and I just had to lie down and allow this being to come in and merge with me. And it seemed like a higher aspect of myself. It seemed very safe. It felt like very familiar, and I also saw all of my guides holding space for me um, at that time. And I was literally like speaking to Eldora from my guides and saying, he's going through this process. This is all pre planned. There's nothing to worry about. And this is going to be over soon. You just need to hold space for him. And I was going through this experience while explaining to Eldora from my guide's voice what was happening. And it was very, very intense. Like my whole body was convulsing, and I was merging with this being. And when the whole process was over 30 minutes later, the merger happened in 30 minutes, but the full processing of that took me several years after to fully process what happened. So I had this walk in experience, and since that day, I literally felt like the old version of my soul has left, and I'm a completely new, different person now. So, with this walk in experience, all my extrasensory perceptions started activating, my telepathic gifts and abilities started activating, and I had this thirst for knowledge. I started getting into all the esoteric books and started gaining started remembering all the knowledge of ancient Atlantis, Lemuria, and the true history of humanity. And I realized that my soul's mission was to bring back this knowledge to humanity. Around the same time, I started having very real mystical experiences where I had a visitation from Jesus Christ, and he told me that I am supposed to be heading the order of Melchizedek on my own. I was just initiated, but I was fast forwarding very quickly. And he told me that I am a priest of the order of Melchizedek, and that this is a very powerful ancient order which was abandoned at the time of Atlantis, but now it is of the utmost importance to bring back the order of Melchizedek back to planet Earth, and to start spreading these teachings back to humanity so we remember who we are. And when I excitedly told my teacher, who I had initiated with, I excitedly told her that this has happened. I'm accelerating very quickly, and that I'm supposed to have my own order, that I'm being initiated by Jesus, Metatron, Isis, Melchizedek. I've had many experiences with these beings, and they were initiating me in the higher planes, and they were granting me with the priesthood. And I considered it such a huge honor that I wanted to share this with my teacher. But Unfortunately, my teacher had a lot of insecurities, and her response was, "So you're copying me?" And that's when I realized that this teacher who I have initiated with, I have outgrown her. I felt that her, instead of being, if I had a student who was telling me the same thing, I would be so proud of them. I would be like, wow, that's such a huge honor, and what can I do to support you? So at that point, I knew my link with that teacher was broken, because there was no support. Instead, there was just insecurity. So I realized I can go no further under under that particular mystery school, and I'm supposed to start my own mystery school. So all of this was happening while we were still in Toronto, and around 2020, around 2019, Eldora and I were in Niagara Falls, and we actually made a video. If you go back to our channel, it's called the Raw Download. But just before the Raw Download video, the video we made previous to that, we describe an encounter with being a sixth density being known as Ra. And this being actually came in very tangibly. We were in Niagara Falls. We were just taking a few days vacation in an Airbnb, and we felt like this very immense presence come around us, and it felt like we were floating in this liquid light for some time, and we were just getting high of this liquid light, and it was permeating every cell of our being. It started upgrading us, and it started speaking with us. And that's where we got the download of the name House of Ra and the Ra Child. Although at that time we didn't know anything about what it meant. And later on, we realized that House of Ra was supposed to be the brand name that we use for our New Earth music festivals. So later on, it all made sense, but I'll explain to you how we got there. So around 2019, we got the strong urge to leave Toronto. We moved to Costa Rica, and it was around the same time that Eldora and I merged our channels, and we started make. I had my own channel before that, and Eldora had her own solo channel. So around 2019, we merged our channels, and we got the strong guidance to leave Toronto, because our vibration was raising so fast that the density of Toronto was literally feeling unbearable for us. So we decided to move to Costa Rica. We just flew over. So in Costa Rica, we hosted our first ever retreat, and this was the first time after me and Eldora, after starting our YouTube channel, that we actually opened up to the public to do a public event and meet some of our fans. And that Costa Rica retreat was one of the most powerful experiences that I've ever had. It really showed us who we had become until that point. And one of the retreat participants had a food allergy. She ate something by mistake that she wasn't supposed to. And that day we were having a circle in the yoga shala, while this lady who had eaten some fish or something that she wasn't supposed to, actually it was a nut allergy, and she was being tended to by two of the nurses. Her lips were turning purple. She was just losing life force, and she was becoming very weak. But we didn't know how bad it was, so there were people tending to her. And suddenly, the one of the nurses, who was also a retreat participant, ran up to the yoga shala and said, "It's getting bad. She might die. Like, we need to get her to a hospital, and if we don't get her medical attention, she's actually risks dying." So immediately, I got this instinct that I need to do something about this. And I had activated my healing abilities for many years before. So I went up to her room, I cleared the room, and I just laid my hands on her, like different chakras, did all the things I know how to do. And immediately within 15 minutes, she came back. Like, she came back fully, like as if nothing had happened. So this was a huge reflection of of where I had come in my abilities, and it was also a recognition of the fact that there's a lot of great work that we have to do on planet Earth. And while we were in Costa Rica, we remembered the download that we had received from Ra a year ago, and we remembered the name House of Ra, and our guides strongly urged us to buy the domain name houseofra.com. And we had no idea why we would purchase houseofra.com as a domain. We had no idea what it was meant for, but they said nope, go and get it. And although it was $5,000 to buy that domain name, we went ahead in full faith and went ahead and got it. And within 6 months of buying the domain houseofra.com, we threw our first international festival in Miami, and it was under House of Ra, of course. And approximately 200 people showed up. So we realized that there's a momentum. We realize that people are hungry for these kind of spiritual events, especially where communities are wanting to come together, and like-minded people are wanting to meet with each other. So this is where we literally began to saw the manifestation of all the premonitions that we had had a decade earlier about being pillars of a community, being healers, and all of that was coming true before our eyes. And literally, it feels like magic. And after a successful event in Miami, we did another very successful event of House of Ra New Earth Music Festival in Tulum, and then Croatia. And Croatia was truly, for us, it was a dark night of the soul. And many people may not know this, but we went through some of the hardest times in Croatia, and it literally felt like the vibration of that country was so dense. We were actually sent there for land healing, but it took a very big toll on on Eldora and myself, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and it left us completely exhausted and needing healing. So now we're coming back full circle, and by that what I mean is, originally Eldora and I started our YouTube channels individually, and then we got guidance to merge our channels, which helped us grow immensely. We learned a lot from each other, and honestly, harmonizing your energy with someone else on while making a YouTube video, while channeling your individual streams of guidance and crisscrossing with each other, it's not an easy task, and it did serve us very well for a long time. But now I feel we're at a crossroads where our souls are yearning to express our voice individually. And I feel that is bringing us to the next level of evolution of this particular channel. And our guidance has been very strong. Eldora also shared this with you guys, that we are now planning to take this channel to the next level, to its next stage of evolution, where we will be making YouTube videos together, but at the same time we're going to be sharing our own individual voices. And this is my intention. This is my first video with this particular intention, to make a solo video to really connect with you guys, and to let you know that there are so many topics that I sometimes wish to speak on, but when we try to combine our voices to when I try to say, hey, let's make this video together, something or the other is off and we're not able to click, and there's nothing wrong with that. The reason for that is that we need to evolve. We need to allow our souls that expression to have that individual voice. So I'm really excited for our journey ahead, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with all of you, beautiful soul family, individually as well as collectively with Eldora. And from the bottom of my heart, for those of you who have been on this journey with us since the beginning, I thank you. I honor you for being on this journey with us. And there have been some times where we have not been consistent and on YouTube, and that's because of our own healing journey, our own life's demands. There's so much going on in our lives, but my intention is to be more regular on YouTube and to share as much from my heart as possible. And I feel that as a collective, humanity is at a very critical juncture of this ascension right now. And as I as I'm figuring out all the steps of what's to come and how to navigate this path, my intention is to share all of my guidance, all of my knowledge, to assist you guys as well, to help everyone, arm you with the knowledge that you need to navigate what's coming for planet Earth and how best to thrive in this current, in the world that we live in. So thank you so much, truly from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your love, and I'll see you soon.